It's time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Dart Talk carries the Internet Broadcast Rating TVD, a broadcast that is specifically designed to be viewed or heard by the darting community, and therefore may be incomprehensible to other lesser mammals. Darter discretion advised.
Okay, welcome to Dart Talk.
Welcome. How you doing?
I am good. How are you?
I'm doing fine.
Fresh from my latest travel,
Kentucky.
Dart Talk. Steve Poncielman and Mystery Mark, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks to Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. How was your weekend?
My weekend's all right. It wasn't too bad. Well, I got rained out on Sunday for golf. This weather stinks. I mean, a lot of people have it a lot worse than me not being able to play golf, that's for sure, but it's bad all over.
I cannot wait for the first warm, sunny day.
Yeah.
And we're almost out of, what is today, the
24th.
24th of April, Wednesday. A lot to get to.
We're without a chat room girl. What a gig she has.
She is out at
she
the
gets to,
biggest soft tip league tournament in the country.
Yeah, she gets to show up once every other 2 weeks or something.
Must be nice.
Yeah,
Must just come in, light
whenever
up a
you
room
feel
and
like
leave. Yeah, just come make a bunch of racket, mess everything up, and we're gonna have to get
she
her a
is
new
in
microphone.
Vegas, right? Biggest soft tip tournament.
Right. Team Dart 2013, which pretty sure I'll be trashing in about 10 minutes or so. Not really. Yeah, I'm not going to trash it, but there is one thing that is bugging me that we'll get to on that.
All right. We'll make sure of that.
Let's disclaim
Please
everything and
do.
all things.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect the thoughts or opinions of the hosts, our sponsors, any official Dart sanctioning organization, and post hoc ergo propter hoc, any and all spelunkers, debunkers, raconteurs, roustabouts, technocrats, hepcats, cat ladies, Lady Gaga, the Four Seasons, the Three Stooges, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, hipsters, kibitzers, hellions, the fickle finger of fate, or Tom Waits.
Okay.
All right.
That's
we are
good.
disclaimed.
Yeah, they were all disclaimed. Went down to Lexington, Kentucky.
One of your shorter drives of the year.
Yeah, really.
Which
it
is
was
nice.
only like 6 hours. I'm like, oh, gee, that's it?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Jill drove all the way down there.
Oh, nice.
So I, leveled up on my car game
Yeah.
on my iPhone a few times. And
Did she affect you? Did she swerve a little bit just to make you crash?
She does it on purpose, I
That's
swear to
what I'm
God. No, but it was... this tournament was remarkable in a number of ways. I mean, here you got a guy, you got John Frank, known as Mongo, who's, basically on his own got this tournament going.
Mm-hmm.
And, he makes a point of getting, some of the more well-known players to show up. And he actually had he had 3 of the top 11 in the North American Order of Merit, and then one guy who's been, pretty much a top 10 ADO player for, 10, 15 years, all at this little tournament in Kentucky.
That's good.
So, yeah, the field was tough. My doubles partner blew me off.
Well, what'd you do to him?
Nothing. I believe he contracted elephantitis or something because
no phone call, nothing?
Nothing.
No. Okay.
And I'm just sort of like, really? Is this,
elephantitis of the dart hand, or what do you...
Well, no, that's an inside joke because he's an elephant trainer. So elephantitis.
Oh, well, there you go.
He didn't even give me the excuse of like, oh, well, I've got a hangnail or,
How's one get into training elephants?
His father did it. His father was an elephant trainer at Brookfield, too, so he was kind of born into the trade. And he's really good at it. He's really, he's awesome. He's got, he posts pictures. I told him he needed a Twitter feed. Maybe I'll do it. I'll create a Twitter feed for Chuck's girls, which are what he calls his elephants, because you can't have guy elephants. They'll tear the place up. So it's always girl elephants at the circus or what have you. So he blew me off. So I got a chance. I played with Jeff Dodson in the 501 doubles. That was fun. I don't know if he's in the chat room, but hi, Jeff. Enjoyed it. Wow. Well, here's the thing about this tournament is he tried to do the kind of things that we advocate on the show. He had a round robin on Saturday. It actually, both the singles, Saturday and Sunday. Saturday was 5-0. Sunday was cricket. Round robin into a knockout. So everybody got a chance to play. Most of the players I talked to really liked it. One guy was kind of like, oh, well, what if somebody dumps and stuff like that? I'm like, don't worry about it. It's not going to happen. There's no reason.
You're not going to make everybody happy, but for the most part, everybody enjoyed. I mean, it's just the same thing. Everybody enjoys the format.
Yeah, it was just a time thing. I mean, it's hard to run a number of events if you're going to tie up the afternoon with a round robin. And then we had enough players where I was in a group of 8 or 9, so I had to play like 8 matches. That took a while.
Yeah.
And then some guy held the whole thing up. Some guy played 1 match and then disappeared, and nobody really wants to forfeit him, but after 45 minutes, I think he left. So it's kind of like
without saying anything?
Yeah, pretty much. It was kind of like that. And he won his first match, so it was kind of strange. And then, well.
Maybe he was hanging out with your doubles partner.
Oh, with Chuck? Chuck never showed up. I got a text message at like 10 in the morning, so it was kind of like, geez, thanks. But we do have results from the Blazing Saddles, and we'll get to those in a minute. We're going to talk about some other stuff, too. I got a beef with a couple of things that we'll get to.
Good.
Where are we on time? You're going to have to keep track of time because I'm a space cadet today.
I
7
lost
minutes.
The time. Oh.
Why don't we do the results? Let's do the results from the Blazing Saddles.
Right.
Yeah, let's just.
First of all, I want to know why somebody wanted to slap you.
Oh, well.
Before we get to the results.
Okay, well, because the round robins were both seeded, and I made a comment at some point that a certain ADO player would never be seeded ahead of me again, although it turns out he wasn't seeded ahead of me anyway.
And he wanted to slap you for that?
No, somebody associated with him wanted to. Okay. And I was kind of like, okay.
His significant other you offended.
Well, and here's the thing. I'm always misunderstood. Now, on the surface, if I would say something like, oh, so-and-so's never going to be seated above me, what does that sound like to you?
Sounds kind of conceited.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
But my attitude there is like, well, because he doesn't play NWDS stuff and he doesn't play the PDC stuff, he's not going to get seeded because you can't seed anyone based on ADO rankings because ADO rankings are heavily weighted toward, playing in regionals. And if you don't have a regional around you, then you get nothing.
Right.
Right? So if you look at all the ADO points and stuff like that, to be in the top 10, you need 700 points. Maybe you get 250 by just playing in the regionals. That's a huge percentage of your total. Mm-hmm. Right? So if you don't play regionals, how are you going to get ranked? And if you don't get ranked, how are you going to get seeded? And then what do you do about Canadians? Because they could show up and win every event and end up 0 because the ADO won't rank them. So the ADO rankings have been basically useless for years.
Right.
Okay? And we've come up, the NAPTA people came up with another way to seed people, which we had one anyway. I mean, Bullseye News had their pro rankings where he would just ignore what country you were from and just look at your top 12 finishes in major tournaments and use that to rank people.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
If you live on the East Coast and you can drive to 15 tournaments that are worth $8,000, or you live in Texas and there's 3 tournaments that are worth $15,000 and you go to all of them and then you go to your regionals, you're going to end up with 80 points.
Right.
Which means nothing. Because when push comes to shove, when you go to a big tournament, when everyone is there, who's in the money? Who's in the money every time? Those are the guys that ought to be seated.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
so
sure.
NAPTA will look at that.
Yeah.
And then they have a rolling 2-year thing. And so if you look in the top 30 of the NAPTA, you're going to see people that go out to tournaments and
been
perform.
up there consistently for 2 years.
Now, the problem with NAPTA is that now they're starting to pick and choose what tournaments they're going to include. So now they're turning themselves into the ADO. Right? Well, we're going to count this tournament, but not this tournament. We're going to count this tournament, not this tournament. So what are you actually doing? You're just polluting your
You're
own
just picking and
ranking
choosing.
system
Right.
that now makes it useless. Okay?
Why did NAPTA decide to do that, then?
Don't know. Don't care.
Okay.
Because the NAPTA thing doesn't matter anymore. Now you have a real ranking system, and that's the North American Championship Tour money list. Because anybody who's a player is playing in those, and anybody who avoids them isn't a player. End of story.
Right.
Right? If there's a $4,800 singles event and you're not playing in it, then you're not a player. Okay? You want to, kind of stay home and play local stuff, that's great. But you're not going to be like one of the top players,
Right,
unless you play in the top tournaments, okay? And I don't want to hear any complaints about this. I don't want to hear about, oh, well, I did this and I did that. Hey, guys are getting out there playing. You can't get seeded and you can't get ranked if you don't play anywhere. People that seem to think somehow that they have a reputation because they did something once and they should get ranked are out of their minds.
No, that makes sense to me.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the ADO system where you can go get top 32 after top 32 and after top 32 and end up the number one player in America when you didn't win anything all year.
Not even win. You
Right?
weren't even in the top 4.
Is like the most absurd, ridiculous way
Right.
of ranking people I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I understand the finances. We're going to talk about the ADO rankings later, but I mean, that was kind of why somebody
wanted to slap
because I just made one comment like so-and-so isn't going to get seated ahead of me ever again. Okay,
Right.
so it's not my fault. I didn't invent all this stuff,
Right.
I just
Just
try to
facts.
show up and play.
It's all factual information is what you're
well,
saying.
yeah. It's like people don't like the facts and argue. Like
Right.
Phil E. Buster was in Kentucky.
Okay.
And, dude, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, I've explained this to you 3 times. The facts aren't going to change. Accept them and move on.
Right.
If you don't like them, don't talk to me about it. What did I do?
Well, maybe he doesn't believe that they're actually the facts.
Oh, no, he's just wants to filibuster.
Oh,
Phil E. Buster.
Phil E. Buster.
Phil E. Buster was in Kentucky. Let's do the results.
Affecting your
Let's
game.
do the
All
results.
right, let's do the results.
I mean,
We'll start with the Blazing Saddles, the Waco's Kids seeded draw on Friday night.
the seeded draw on Friday night, which unfortunately I got there too late to participate in.
All right. Top 4 are Sherry Zumwalt, James Cotton, Jacob Wise, and Timmy Nichols. Second place, John Umhundro and Don Tressler, and Ben Belts and Jack Roman first.
Okay, and then apparently everybody was like, let's do another draw.
Yes.
Let's do another draw. So they did another draw.
Second added draw with 18 teams. Second top 4 are Nick Staggy, Ashley Despain, Mongo.
That's John Frank, our tournament host. Had a good weekend.
And Douglas.
Yeah, I don't know who Douglas is.
Douglas Open?
No.
I don't think that's right.
I don't think so.
Second place goes to Chris M. Any help there? No?
Sorry.
And Steve Wilkinson with James Cotton and Bryce.
Yeah, what was
Somebody
Bryce's last name? He's
first.
a nice guy. Yeah, okay, so they won the draw. Congrats to them.
Yeah. Then you got your doubles 501 on Saturday. Top 4 are Terry Sims, Jim Adams, Timmy Nichols, and James Cotton, with Steve Brown and Derek Jones second, with Mongo and Larry Butler first.
And let me tell you, John Frank played pretty well. Although apparently somebody posted a picture on Facebook of Larry dragging Mongo was on all fours with a dog collar,
Just
and
like
Larry
the movie?
was dragging
Yeah.
him on a leash. So, no, seriously, I was really impressed. I thought John played pretty good, and for a guy who's actually got to run a tournament and then go out and play,
And perform right.
that's not easy to do. So that was actually pretty impressive, and Larry played good all weekend.
All right. Women's added doubles 501.
Right.
Second place, Missy Tate Sprague, or Sprague? It's probably
I think it's Sprague.
I think it's Sprague.
Yeah.
And Jill Hutchinson, Shawnee Payton, and Angie McKnight for first.
Okay, that was a pretty good final. Went down to the last leg, and I guess Missy and Jill kind of ran out of gas, but well played to all of them.
And then you got your main event, men's 501, top 4, Ryan Barnett, Steve Brown. Do we want to do top 8?
Yeah, do top 8.
Top 8.
Yeah.
James Cotton, Mark Bennett, David Dunning, and Mark Hilbert,
Yeah,
headhunter. Top 4, Ryan Burnett, Steve Brown.
Okay.
And then second place goes to you, Steve
Yes.
Pencilman, and Ben Belts beat you in the men's 501.
Well, I gave him way more help than he needed. He played pretty good, but I kind of, in my mind, that's one that I blew.
Yeah.
I just blew it. So what are you going to do?
He might argue differently, but you never know.
Well, he was there. I mean,
Right.
It's funny. Nothing ceases to amaze me. If I watch somebody play a match, right, and I talk to both of them, Well, what'd you think of that match? You get two. It's like they
didn't
see the same match.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'm guilty of that. I'm sure.
All right, women's main event 501, top 8, Donna Murillo, Lynn Riddle, or Rydell, Missy Tate, and Jill Hutchinson. Top 4, Shawnee Payton, Tammy Dunning. Second place goes to Kim Keller, Pogenmoller, and Angie McKnight wins first.
Well played to all those women.
The Toilet Bowl.
Yeah, the Toilet Bowl was a deal where if you didn't make it through the round robin,
it's a second chance.
It was a second chance kind of blind draw thing.
Okay.
Which I thought, instead of a
nice.
consolation, yeah.
Top 4, Marsha Sprague, Ty Raymond, Rex Edwards, and Linda Leslie. Second place, Jacob Wise, Tanya Howe. And first place goes to Mongo again and Mitch Payton.
Yeah, Mongo was stoked. He's like, hey, I've won 2 events.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, good for you, man.
He got a second
played
somewhere,
good.
didn't he?
Yeah. There's another win. Oh, well, no, he won the doubles with Larry.
Oh, okay.
Won the 5-1 doubles.
Women's main event cricket.
Yeah, so this is Sunday then.
Top 8, Tanya Howe, Sammy Clark, Tammy Allen, and Jill Hutchinson.
And Tanya Howe's another one. She was basically working the tournament desk.
Okay, was she?
And, what they did with the women was they had a 9-person round robin, and then the top 8 made it through.
Mm-hmm.
And then they played knockout, so.
All right, and then you got top 4 is Angie McKnight and Donna Murillo with Shawnee Payton second and Kim Keller Pogenmoller for first place.
All right, congrats to all of them.
Then you have your men's main event cricket. Top 8, Ty Raymond, Steve Brown, Nick Staggy, and Ben Belts. Top 4, Ben Minks and Ryan Burnett, with you again as second place, Steve Penutzman, and Larry Butler wins that one.
Now, here's the pop quiz. How do you play a round-robin cricket event followed by knockout, never lose your throw, and not only not win, but lose the final 5-0? How's that possible?
Oh, and you lost 5-0.
I lost the final 5-0. Which did not lose my throw all day.
Is it diddle every leg?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So Larry is a professional diddler.
So
and
Larry
out-diddled me. He did his diddling. He diddled really well. And he knew I was going to say that. He did play really well. But if you're going to go
he
second,
did his best Ray Carver imitation on you, didn't
if you're going to go second every single leg,
right.
I wish you luck. Especially
well, so now
playing cricket.
You counted at one point with how many Ray Carver diddles you'd lost. Is Larry Butler getting in that realm?
No. Well, no. I mean, I lost 5 straight in the final, but for some reason, this is my 5th straight singles final that I've lost in that room.
Yeah.
So next year, I'm not sure if there's going to be a brush fire or something, but if I lose the Friday night singles final in that room, there could be some sort of
some action.
Yeah, maybe a stink bomb. They got to close the room down. I mean, I don't know.
Not only that,
we may have to do something.
You had a couple other seconds. Vegas, you had a second, right?
Yeah. Top 4.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm going to start practicing again. I mean, I told, people come up to you and they say, well, you played good, you played good, you played good. And all I can think of is all the darts I missed, right? And I blew this and I missed that and I should have done that, And basically, I mean, it's hard to go through a round robin where you win 32 of 40 legs or something, and then you beat guys in the knockout, and then you go, well, I've kind of got my B game today, because that sounds like kind of conceited, but that's kind of how I played all weekend. I played B game, solid, hit some clutch starts here and there, would play the A game for half a leg or a leg and a half at a time, then go back to the B game, and it was enough to get through all the way to the finals.
Right.
So I guess that's a good thing.
Larry throws his A game against you, and you can't win.
Yeah, Larry had his A game going. Larry played, really well. And, no excuses. I mean, he outplayed me, and he might have won 5-0 even if I went first a couple of times, although that remains to be seen.
Right. Well, win a diddle, and we can discuss it.
we played a 5-leg match in Virginia Beach where it was alternate starts. So we diddled the last leg. I won the diddle and won the match.
Right.
So he hasn't broken my throw all year. So I'm like, whatever.
Note to self.
Right. So, I don't know. I'm getting jinxed out of these finals in Kentucky. But what a great crowd of people.
We got one last event.
The
mixed triples.
Oh, the mixed trips,
trips. Second place goes to Timmy Nichols, Donna.
Anybody? Oh, that's Donna Murillo.
And Jim Adams.
Okay.
And first place goes to Steve Brown, Missy Tate, and Nick.
That's Nick Staggy.
There you go.
Nick. I thought he played with Derek.
There would be results. Speaking of the crowd.
How was the crowd? The crowd was great. I mean, there's such nice people down there. And, a lot of really committed players. I mean, a lot of them don't travel really anywhere else. They'll go to like one or two tournaments that are close, but I mean, they're not going to fly all over the country or go tournaments every weekend or anything like that. But they got some good, solid players, and it was funny. There were a lot of good Cincinnati guys and a couple of really good young players. I played a kid, Ty Raymond out of Louisville. I played Ben Minks, who played really, really well. Had beaten Steve Brown in the top 8, and I managed to get by him. But I'm looking at these guys, and I'm like, man, if they would just get out more and play more, they'd have more success.
Right.
And I want to talk more about why we shouldn't be diddling anymore, but we'll get to that. Let's take our first break. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve, and we'll be right back. Okay, back for the second quarter, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, thanks Redwood Darts and Windy City Fabricators. And where were we?
I don't know. Everything's moving along a little too smoothly for me right now, so I'm not exactly sure.
I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. I'm waiting for, sparks to come flying out of the mixer or something. Last week was such a disaster, and this week nothing's broken yet. Although we did.
I probably shouldn't have said anything.
2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It took us to get everything straightened out.
It took us 6 hours
right?
last week, and we didn't get anything straightened out. So, but anyway, earlier today we were talking about anarchy for dart. Is it good for darts? And I wasn't exactly sure.
Anarchy.
Isn't that what I said?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
But I wasn't getting the gist of what you meant.
Well,
please explain it to me again.
And part of it is the deal with the rankings, right? Like if somebody, and I said this, I don't know what show it was. So if somebody comes up to you and it's like, well, what are you ranked? How do you answer it? Right?
Well,
because right now,
if
you look at everyone's got their own set system. It's like you can't have 77 world champions running around saying the world champions.
Yeah.
It doesn't work that way. Not in my world.
Depends on which world.
Well, I don't know what world some people are living
exactly.
in.
What color is the sky in your world?
Well, no, seriously. Like let's look at the ADO rankings, right? Like somebody posted on their Facebook, "Hey, check out the ADO rankings," and I looked, and well, I didn't look. I just assumed, oh, you must be number one if you're like sharing it. Okay, gang, congratulations. But I can think of 3 or 4 people that aren't even listed, and I'm one of them. And I don't know where I would be listed, but basically the ADO rankings, I have decided, is a scam. So here's the deal with the ADO. What they do is if you want to have a tournament sanctioned by the ADO, They will tell you in advance you have to send us like, I don't know, $100,
right.
$120, whatever, depending on how big the tournament is. And once they get your money, then it's officially sanctioned. Okay?
Right.
Then they want you to send $2 for every person that played in every singles event that's supposedly sanctioned. Okay?
Okay.
So I played, this was a sanctioned tournament, so the ADO is going to get $4 from me, two for the 5-0,
right.
two for the cricket, right?
Yeah.
$4. So they charge a tournament, right? Now they're getting $4 a head for all, or $2 for all the players. Then they won't list you, even though you pay your $2, they're not going to list your name in the rankings unless you're affiliated with a league that pays them money. Right,
okay,
so
like
not
Windy
only does
City
the
used to be.
yeah,
right.
Well, they said they were going to do it this year, and they haven't done it. So,
Right.
and you know, at one point the ADO's like telling me to call them. I'm like, why don't you call them? Why am I doing it?
Yeah.
Because they're triple dipping, and all anybody gets out of it is their name listed in the rankings.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, if you only play 2 tournaments a year, what do you care if you're ranked 740th
Right.
in the ADO rankings? What do you care? It doesn't count for anything.
Yeah, so your entry, so your
But I'm doing the math
your league
on this.
fee and the $2 per singles to be ranked 720th.
I'm doing the math on this, right? So the ADO rankings is generating for them maybe $100,000 in revenue when all is said and done, and nobody gets anything out of it. And I am to the point now where I'm like, we have a ranking system now that we can use. We can use the North American Championship.
What happens if you're
Tour.
ranked number 1 in ADO?
Nothing.
Nothing.
I mean, if you finish the year in top 6, you're on their, quote, national team, and you don't have to qualify for the 501 championship. That's it.
That's it?
It's not like you get 10 grand or 5 grand or something like that. So combining that with the other stuff the ADO's doing, I'm kind of like, you know what? Why is that 100 grand?
Why are we supporting them?
Let's just say that it's 100 grand. It could be less, could be more. I mean, if I saw financials, I could give you an accurate number, but I can't get from the ADO a number.
It's a ballpark
how
figure.
much revenue did you get from sanctioning fees in 2012? I can't get that information. But so let's just say it was $100,000. That's $100,000 coming out of the pockets of all the dart players in America.
Right.
And getting for it what I can see, nothing.
Right.
Getting nothing.
A name in print.
We have all these problems. We have all these goals. Like, as you know, as dart players, what we would like to see. We would like to see more prize money. We'd like to see bigger tournaments. We'd like to see darts on TV. We would like to see the sport grow not only in exposure but in stature. It'd be nice to get on an airplane and you're saying you're going to a dart tournament and
they know what you're talking about.
They know what you're talking about, right? And we're on our way, but we got a long way to go. But we have made progress in the last 18 months, something like that. But think about what you could do with $100,000
for exposure alone
to create something or to enhance something or to augment what you already have. You have, I don't know how many tournaments, and we're just talking about like steel tournaments right now. You have, I don't know, nationwide in 12 months, 40, 45 tournaments.
Right.
What if you took that $100,000 and said, you know what? We need to promote. My attitude is one of the biggest problems you have as far as like overall turnout is getting the women to come out.
Right.
So I'm like, why don't you take
Add
that
some money to the women?
Yeah, take the $100,000. Don't put it into first place money. Put it into top 4 and top 8 money. So instead of one woman going to a tournament, making her expenses or making more,
right, it makes it worth it for more people to travel.
Yeah. Why don't you make it so 4 people can make their expenses or 6 people can make their expenses? So you start getting women being like, you know what, I have a chance now. Because it's expensive to go to all these tournaments, right? So why do you think some people only play the tournaments that are, nearby, right? But instead of giving the money to the ADO for a sanctioning fee, why don't you just keep it and give it to the women and do that for a year?
And see
do
what
that
happens.
for 12 solid months, and then you tell me if
which
you've
is
got
better.
more women in overall going to tournaments or not, right? You see what I'm saying? And I've had guys tell me, don't bother. Like the women won't come out anyway, and la-di-da-di-da-di-da. I don't buy that. I think the women want to play. I think the women want to be treated the same as the men.
Yeah.
I think the women want to be treated like they're dart players, which they are. They're not second-class
I
citizens.
think a lot of the women we've talked to is the consensus is it's really expensive to travel.
Plus you look at the women's prize money, it's usually half what the guys is, and the women's prize money a lot of times is coming from the guys anyway. Right?
Okay,
because it's any tournament you go to, it's a vast majority of men playing, and so the vast majority of the revenue is coming from the men. So take all the sanctioning fees and just throw it in the women's purse. Do that for a year. Do that until the end of 2014, and then look and see where you are. Right? Now, what does that do to the ADO? Okay, I mean, I don't know, and I don't really care. I mean, I'll sanction your tournament.
Yeah.
I'll sanction any tournament.
You could be on the top of Steve's
Give me
list.
$1. I'll sanction your tournament. I'll keep track of,
I'll type up some
all the
results.
type money, and we'll just throw the list on there somewhere. We'll do it for free. Just send me the results, and I'll compile it, throw it in a spreadsheet, and kick it up there. I'll do it for $1.
Right.
$1 a tournament. So that's going to cost everybody $40 versus $100,000. Who's in?
I would think
Honestly.
everybody.
And if the ADO needs a ranking, all they got to do is look at mine.
Yeah.
Hey, here you go.
And
Here's
they
your ranking.
Just copy and paste
Here's your
it.
ranking. And you can have it for free. I won't charge you $1.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, they don't do anything anyway. I mean, here's the thing with the anarchy, right? It's now up to tournament people
because the
how
ADO
they're going to diddle.
the ADO isn't running the tournament.
No, they don't do anything. And I've talked to ADO people, and they're like, well, there's nothing we can do. We can't send somebody out to every tournament and check and make sure the boards are this and the lighting is that. Well, then why are you taking the money?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Because people are giving it to them.
I mean,
That's
honestly,
why. If somebody was going to hand you money, would you take it?
look, here's the thing with the ADO that's going to get me in trouble with a lot of people. A lot of the people that are behind the ADO are wonderful individuals that have donated their time to make the ADO what it is. Okay? And they've been there. Some people have been there like you're going on 20 years. Okay. They should get all the credit for, everything they've done. But that doesn't mean we have to keep doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, ditch diggers did a wonderful job, but now we have bulldozers. Do you really want to get people out there with a shovel to dig a ditch now? Is that really where we're at? We now have computers. Should we go back to, like, tablets and chisels? I don't think so.
Or even just typewriters for that matter.
No, I mean, and then, the idea, okay, I'm getting off the track. The idea with the anarchy is where you have all these different rankings. Look at Soft Tip. They don't have any. Every vendor in every league keeps their own stats. So if you say who's the number one ranked soft tip player in America,
every vendor's going to say
nobody knows.
Right.
Nobody knows. And why is that? Because they're all deliberately kind of keeping everybody apart. Right? They want the amateurs to be here and the pros to be there, and they don't want to. These players are banned and these players aren't, and it just becomes silly. So it would be very easy on the soft tip side to come up with a ranking, right? Because all the results they have, all the data is there.
Stats,
I mean, all you got to
everything.
do is really want to put it together. But what are you going to do? These guys are all trying to cut each other's throats. Yeah. It's like, so forget about it.
Well, one vendor isn't going to want to put out the stats and have somebody else affiliated with another vendor.
Look, you got the biggest soft tip tournament of the year going on right now in Vegas, right? But who's allowed to play? Right? So you can't use those results. You can't say, oh, hey, I won the Team NDA dart title. I'm a world champion. No, you're not. You're a league champion.
Right.
You won your league title. Congratulations, and it's well-deserved.
But you're not a world champion.
And there are plenty of great players there, and it's an accomplishment. But it isn't what some people are saying it is.
Right.
You won a league tournament, and all you got to do was play, the people that are in your league, and I can name 15 people that could have won if they were allowed to play. So it doesn't count. It just doesn't count.
Counts,
what does it count for?
Just the moniker of world championship. It doesn't count.
If you win the Mystery Mark Backyard Open, that's great.
I was the only one invited.
Well, that's great, man. I mean, congratulations,
right.
And I hope you enjoyed it. But now, when it comes to rankings, how do we assess Mystery Mark winning the Mystery Mark Open? How do you put that in with somebody who went to an open tournament with the top players in North America and came in 8th?
Yeah.
How do you rank that? Right?
Well, me personally, since I won my event, I rank myself pretty high.
I mean, I seem to be losing a lot of finals the last 18 months.
Right.
So, I mean, I'm just saying, I mean, how are we supposed to assess this stuff?
Right.
Right? Now,
well, plus your point of you can't call yourself a world champion when you didn't.
When the world is limited to everybody
invited.
that you decide to give a card to,
right.
That doesn't count.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, Soft Tip should probably end up doing something like they're doing with the North American Championship Tour, where next February, I believe in Cleveland, there's going to be a Continental Championship. There's going to be a national championship, which I don't believe we've ever had. The ADO, their stuff doesn't count. The 501 championship and the cricket championship does not count because so many people aren't allowed to play. Mm-hmm. If they had an open qualifier, like on the day before the tournament, where it was like, we're going to take the top 32 people out of this qualifier and you can play for the championship, then it would count.
Right.
But the way they run it now, it does not count because too many people are excluded. And here's the other thing with the anarchy. National team, right? National team. Everything's a national team. It's not a national team if everybody's not allowed to get on the team. So, like on the soft tip tournament at the NDA thing, at Team Dart, whatever they call it, Team Dart 2013, they have the national team. This is our national team. It's not a national team because you've excluded most of the nation from playing. It's not a national team. Stop calling it.
It wasn't like
that.
They didn't get picked. They weren't even.
No,
they didn't even have a chance.
Well, no, they earned it based on their results from last year. No, did you qualify? Did you try to qualify? No,
right.
Of course you didn't. So what do you got? You got basically the NDA All-Stars from last year playing against whatever All-Stars from other countries. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you got a great team. They're great guys. And I personally know some of them and like them, but it isn't like it's not the American team.
Right.
Okay? These guys that go out to Shanghai to play in some tournament and say, oh, we're the American team. No, you're not. You're like your vendor's team from America. There's a difference, right? These guys talking about darts in the Olympics. Can you imagine what a nightmare it's going to be?
To pick the Olympic team?
Well, yeah, because if the ADO's in charge of it, it's going to be, well, if you're not an ADO player, you can't be on the Olympic team.
Right.
Oh, my gosh. Are you kidding me? Really?
It's highly unfair.
This is an organization that can't get out of their own way, right? And they're going to be picking our team where they're in cahoots with like the BDO where, okay, the PDC guys can't be on the team. I mean, this is the anarchy I'm talking about. I mean, is this good for darts or not? Is it good to have 55 world championships every 5 months? We're the bullshooter. They call themselves world champions. Yeah. These guys, this is a national team. Well, what's that? Oh, that's a national team too. So we have 55 national teams that I can't qualify for any.
Right.
Right? So what nation are they talking about? It's the nation
one that you're not in.
The nation of the soft tippers under these vendors.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's pretty much it.
Well, then let's call it that. Okay?
Right.
So you got like the NDA American All-Stars are playing the NDA French All-Stars. What's wrong with that? That's accurate. And they're still great players. I mean, I'm not dissing anybody. Right. I'm saying, look at where we are here. Yeah, it's still an accomplishment to win. It's hard to win anything. Well, I don't know about I don't know about your tournament.
My backyard open is.
I don't know about your tournament, but
it was pretty easy to win.
So this anarchy is going to have to. We got to figure out a way to kind of like iron this out a little bit so we get some clarity. I'm up for clarity. So let's mull that over. We'll take another break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve. It won't be a long break. Okay, back for the second half.
Second half.
Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. We don't have CRG here today. We don't have Chat Room Girl.
No, we
but
do not.
We did take a peek at the chat, and there's one interesting thing. One of the things, if you're going to have a national championship, is you're going to have to figure out a good place to have it. I mean, we're a large country. Geographically, we got 4 time zones. There's plenty of good players in every time zone, so we're going to have to figure out where to have it, where it's accessible to the most people. And if you ask anybody on the East Coast, they'll probably say, well, it should be on the East Coast, because there are more players playing tournaments on the East Coast than there are anywhere else. And I think the further west you get, the less tournament players you have, simply because it's more expensive to travel.
Right.
But if you had a national championship in Cleveland and somebody couldn't afford to travel to it, well, they're not excluded. They're excluding themselves, right? I mean,
that's it. Exclusion is to the point of, everybody has the opportunity to participate. If they can't make it, if they have a wedding or something, even if they're on the East Coast and the tournament's in the East Coast and they're getting married that day, they've excluded themselves. So it really doesn't matter if everybody at least has the chance. There's a date. This is the national championship. That's the day we're playing. Please come.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you've played in something like what the BDO does. With their you played in the Vegas Open, but since you're playing in this, then we're not going to count your points and claptrap like that. It's just a matter of people make sacrifices to play this game. And if you look at the top players, they make more sacrifices than everybody else. They put more of their time into it. They devote more of their disposable income to it, and they make sacrifices. They don't, they practice instead of watching TV and playing Farmville.
Right.
Or some
people are able to do both.
I gave up golf.
Right.
I don't play golf anymore. You want to play golf in a couple of weeks, and I'm like, I haven't gone on a golf course in like 3 years.
Right.
But yeah, sure, I'll play. I'm not going to shoot well, so
especially at 6:30.
But I'm just saying. I mean, it's like the players get respect for their games, and if they would, kind of be nicer to people, I think that they'd have more fans. It was really funny. Scotty Kirchner won the Darts Live exhibition they had a couple of weeks ago. And, here's a guy that's treated people really well, from what I hear, throughout his career. And he has fans. He has people that root for him when he plays. And, there are really good players that don't have that. And that's a shame, because everybody should at least be rooting for them as players.
Yeah.
I don't know. Some of these guys need to kind of fix their own images. I mean, I can't help with that. But as far as what we were talking about, the other thing that really, and this was Philly Buster in Kentucky was saying, well, what sport is it where the amateurs get paid more than the pros? Which is what happens in some of these soft tip tournaments where they've segregated the pros, and now the amateurs are playing
because
for
there's more money in the pool.
Well, think about that for a second, though. If the amateurs are playing for money, they're not amateurs.
Well, true.
Right? I mean, when it comes to the PGA, you cannot win money. Or you're a pro.
Yeah.
And if you go and make money as a pro, you're stuck as a pro, and you have to petition the PGA to get you off the pro list or something, and whatever procedure I don't know what the procedure is now. That's how it used to be. And you look at these guys that make money as amateurs. Well, then they're not amateurs, are they? They're making money. Then you must be a pro. And I had an argument with...
That's the whole difference. Well, it used to be before they allowed pros in the Olympics, though. If anybody that made money...
We don't... I'm not sure that we really have pros. I don't think you should really... what you have are a bunch of devoted dart players, and some make more money than others. But you don't have professionals. I mean, you have more guys getting sponsored now than when I first started going to tournaments 4 or 5 years ago, but they're not getting sponsored. Nobody's getting $50,000 a year to go run around to a bunch of tournaments.
Right.
Nobody's getting that. And a couple of guys got some sweet deals, and hopefully they'll last, and it'd be nice if everybody got them, but let's face it. I mean, you're not a professional if you got a day job and you play darts on the weekend. Jimmy Widmer gave an interview. He was playing in the Winmore Masters a couple of years ago, and he's like, well, darts in America is kind of like a weekend job. And I'm like, that's a really good way to put it, because it's a lot of work. These tournaments are tiring mentally. They're tiring physically. I wow, my legs
Would
were
you be
on
a
fire this
professional if you
weekend.
were still working a weekend job?
Well, what is a professional? I mean, you're playing for money. Everybody who goes to a dart tournament is playing for money. So then they're all professionals, right? The fact that some are more successful than others, so because you're more successful than me, you're a pro and I'm an amateur?
I'm
what
not,
is that?
Yeah.
It doesn't – I don't really see how that makes any sense at all. And the soft tip tournaments where people have handicaps and stuff, my gosh. Now you got people sandbagging.
Yeah.
Or it's like, ooh, I know a guy that's, a better amateur than you. It's impossible to assess because when you first start playing, most good dart players, when they first start playing, they improve rapidly. So they're going to exceed their handicaps for at least 9, 12 months, whatever it is. And then there's from what I hear, a large percentage of people that improve and then kind of make sure that their rankings don't improve because they don't want to play a pro.
Right.
Or they don't want to play somebody who actually is good and dedicated to the game and puts time into it and has experience and all that. Well, I can't beat that guy. Well, I guarantee you can't beat him if you don't play him.
Right.
You don't really see that so much on the steel side is what I hear from people who play soft tip. Well, I can't beat that guy. I mean, he's too good. He's too good. What are you playing for then? The one thing that really attracted me to darts at the beginning is, you could be a nobody and you got a crack at anybody, right? It was the thing with the round robin that we had in Kentucky was you had 4 of the top, 12, whatever ranking system you use, playing in this thing, but they're all seated, right? And they're all in different brackets, so you've got, people of different abilities. Yeah, so you got to play Larry Butler, but you also play the guy that you play in league, and you also play that guy, and never played him. Let's see how it works out. I mean, you play to win the game, right? You play to see how well you can play, and the more guys you play that are better than you, the better you'll be.
Yeah.
That's just
true.
a fact.
That's in everything.
And that's why the segregationists, I just shake my head. I'm like, if all you do is play people that aren't any good, how are you going to get to be any good?
You're going to be the best of the not
Ask
so good.
Ask anybody wearing a patch, and they'll tell you they took on everybody they could. And every match you play, you learn from. This tournament in Kentucky, I was talking to, some of the people, and I'm like, look, one guy was kind of complaining, he didn't really like the round robin, and he thought, well, guys might tank to get his buddy. And I'm like, hey, don't worry about that. And I'm like, doesn't matter. Whether you win or lose this weekend, whether you win one leg or you go undefeated, come Tuesday when you play in your league, you're going to be a better player. Everybody who played in that tournament this weekend walked away a better dart player. Even Larry.
Right.
Right? Because Larry's like, ooh, I can diddle again. So, No, seriously. I mean, that's how you improve your game is you play. You're going to improve your game by, like,
sitting on the couch.
Looking for Helen Keller to play for money.
Right.
Oh, did I tell you I got a money game?
No, you did not.
Oh, Friday night we got too late for the draw. I have not had a money game in, 5 or 6 years.
Really?
So I was just sitting in the bar getting something to eat and talking to Philly Buster. And 2 guys, I guess they were bowlers, walk in, and he's like, oh, hey, you guys looking to play darts? And the guy's like, well, yeah. And he's like, well, I'll play. And he's like, well, me and my partner will play. What do you say, 20 a man? And I was just like, huh?
Seriously?
I almost got whiplash.
Am I on candid
I almost
camera?
got whiplash. No. And so we ended up playing like 2 legs of 01 with bowlers who, like, they didn't even know what cricket was.
Right.
So they went right to 01. And I'm like thinking, are these guys hustlers? And I asked one of the guys, I pointed to Philly Buster, and I'm like, hey, this guy's, like, pretty good. He's like, oh, that's okay. We don't care. And I'm like, all right, fine. Didn't tell him I'm even better.
Yeah, better than
right?
him.
I didn't say that. So we played them, and la-di-da-di-da, and these guys are jawing, and they put their money on the table right off the bat. So we played, we beat them, and they wanted to play again, and we beat them again, and we talked for a while. I shook hands. I went to bed, and I'm just like, now here are 2 guys that'll take on anybody. For, for $20 is like, well, whatever. If they're millionaires, I guess $20 doesn't matter. But, I mean, I can't get a game where, people play for $1.
Right.
Hey, $1 a leg? No way. I ain't playing you for $1. Okay. Fine.
Right.
All right. You play? You want to play? Is it, what was it, the Color of Money? Do you just want to play? And the guy's like, You know what I'm saying? But
I
mean, there's an attitude, and it seems to me like the New Yorkers have it. The New Yorkers are like, I'll play anybody and I'll beat them.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I don't know why that attitude isn't among everybody. Maybe it's like really prevalent in soft tip, and in steel it isn't. I mean, because I don't really see a lot of this, you know, especially in Chicago.
Right.
But
well, even when I was in the league, I didn't see a lot of it either. Steel, you just didn't. There wasn't a lot of money games going around.
There used to be when I first started, but all those guys quit playing.
Right.
You get well. I mean, I there's an attitude here though. And this whole amateur pro thing,
right.
I'm just sort of like, it's not a meaningless distinction. I think it's inaccurate.
You can't even on one hand, there's not individuals solely making their income on darts.
Well, if there are, I mean, you can count them on one hand.
Right.
And guys that have no other source of income but darts,
and that would
I think
be the
in
definition
America
of professional.
Wow.
Basically. That would be your job.
I don't know if that's how I would define a professional, but let's say a professional is somebody who plays darts regularly and goes about it in a professional manner.
Mm-hmm.
If that's a professional, then we got thousands, right?
Right.
Right? Not everybody needs to have a shirt with their name on the back to be a professional, I don't think.
Oh, true. Absolutely.
I mean,
you
look at a guy like, I pick a name off the list. I mean, look at a guy like Ryan Barnett, right? I had a nice chat with Ryan Barnett this weekend. I mean, I'm sure he considers himself a professional. He's got a day job.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's got 2 day jobs, right? So is he a professional? I don't know. I mean, I consider him a professional. So, I mean, It's kind of a weird semantic deal where it means one thing, like if you go to a soft tip tournament because you're going to play like whatever division, right?
Because they have them ranked that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but the steel doesn't have that.
Yeah.
The steel's like open to
or
everyone.
Not open.
It's just open, and you show up and you play,
right.
and may the best person win that day. Which is, if you're not diddling every leg, should happen.
Right.
And here's the thing: we need to get rid of the diddle every leg. We need to just go to alternate starts, and the reason I say this is not
you can't win them.
No, that is not why I have won diddles in the past.
Yes,
because I think in the long run, and I may have said this on an earlier show, I think in the long run it's going to help the occasional tournament player.
Right. You had said that.
You look at a guy like Larry. I mean, the guy diddles 5,000 times a year, right? Because he's diddling at all these tournaments he goes to, and most of the people he diddles against diddle twice a year.
Yeah.
Right? They'll throw a diddle in their league match, but then it smugs away, or you know what?
Right.
They'll
diddle
partner, 3 or 4 times
wants
a week.
To diddle instead. And,
right.
Yeah.
Here's there's just you put such a heavy emphasis on diddling, where it's like, what? Am I going to go home and practice my diddling now?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is that? Let's go alternate start, and then diddle for the odd
final
leg at the end.
Right.
Diddle for the odd leg at the end, and it'll close up some of these matches, right? You're playing best of 5, 501. Well, yeah, one would hope. But I mean, it's a matter of like you want to design events to be as fair as possible, and you don't want to weight them in one direction or another. Right? You don't want to have
somebody like Larry can argue that, saying it's more unfair
if he argues
for him
it or not. He won't argue it effectively because it won't work.
But is it more? I mean, so you're saying
I'm saying like the
fair
American
for the
Diddle
masses.
Organization needs to go away,
right.
And it will. Every tournament wants more local participation, and this is one way to get more local participation is make it a little fairer for the locals to go up against the experienced tournament players that show up, and the experienced tournament players are still going to come out on top most of the time.
Right.
But, if a guy like me, let's say.
Kind of like adding the 3-point line in college basketball.
Well, I don't know if it's like that.
Even the playing field a little bit.
Well, I don't know. I don't like that analogy. But what I'm talking about is like, especially in cricket, if you're going to be diddling every leg against a professional diddler, you're going to be going second every leg, and you're doomed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And if you look at a lot of the results from steel tournaments over the last few years, you don't see very many unfamiliar names in the money in the cricket because it's diddle every leg, and the tournament diddlers win the diddles and they win the legs, and so it's always the same guys. But look at the 01. look at 01 results, and all of a sudden be like, who's this guy that won this $15,000 tournament? Who's that guy? Who's this guy that made top 4? Who's that guy? I remember playing in Nashville. There was a guy on stage from New Orleans, and I asked like 10 people who go to tournaments, who is that guy? I don't know. Never saw him before. I don't know. Never saw him before. I don't know. Never saw him before.
Right.
But it was alternate start. So, if he doesn't go to a lot of tournaments, not being a good diddler didn't hurt him.
Right.
Right? Because you're still going to have to break his throw or win the odd leg diddle, and he knocked off some really good players. So when people are looking at getting more local participation, I'm not saying give locals a handicap. I'm just saying let's make it even,
right,
and let the best person win that day. And I told this to, I don't know if it was Larry Butler or Darren Young, or when I explained this to him, I'm like, look, you're going to lose a few more matches a year than maybe you did last year, because you're not going to go first every leg. Somebody who goes first every leg can throw 18 darters, and the other guy's got to throw 15s, right? Or he's going to throw 15s, now you got to throw 12s. If he's going to go first every leg, my gosh, he's going to be hard to beat. But if he's going to be throwing 18s and you're going alternate start, your 18s are going to be just as good as his.
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to the last leg. So you're going to have more competitive matches, and I think competitive matches are going to bring more people. Just like the round robin,
I agree
being
with
able
that.
to play brings in more people.
Right.
Right? That's good for everybody. It's good for tournaments to get the turnout. I mean, I'm hoping, and this is like my one concern with the NWDS in New Orleans, is that there may be too many people
playing.
Yeah, and
really?
I have not heard anybody complain that there's too many people at a tournament in a long time, but I can see that happening, right? Because I think overall tournament participation is up this year. I don't know about the soft tip side, and I have a feeling like a couple of them, may be down, but steel tip is up because there's more opportunities to play now. There's more to play for, and because there's more to play for, more people are willing to make the sacrifices to play. Stands to reason.
Yeah, makes sense. Absolutely.
I will take our last break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark and Steve. Okay, back for the fourth quarter, brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Redwood Darts and Windy City Fabricators. One correction to what I just, again, we're missing chat room girl. It's piddle for the middle, I believe is what you call diddling in the UK.
Not diddle for the blank?
No, I think it's piddle. I think it's piddle for the middle is what they call it, which is still... Just the thought that you would piddle, wouldn't you just want to do away with it anyway?
Oh,
I don't want to piddle for the middle. You go first. You go first. It's fine. No, I mean, to the credit, they started alternate start at the 501 championship, I think, last year, which I thought was a great idea. I mean, we just need to get away from this stuff.
Right.
I mean, look at the time that people spend diddling and playing cricket, and you wonder why we're losing to the Englishmen. Or we're losing to European players. Because all they do is play 501. They don't waste their time half the tournaments playing cricket. Just throw it some triples and move on. Just throw it some triples and move on. I mean, I can't imagine anything more boring. Although people say 501 is boring.
Yeah, that's
I just
true.
think that,
right.
Yeah, I never thought that.
But get them into
but
some long format 501, and they might change their mind.
I think,
you know what I mean?
Of course they will, because it's easier to get into a rhythm, and it's easier to play your best darts under a format like that. I mean, it just is, and everybody who does it realizes it. And we'll just keep spreading the word on that.
Yeah.
We're almost up to an hour, so I mean,
yes,
we
are.
had some stuff to get to here. What did we not get to?
We're talking to somebody from webcamdarts.com. Apparently, they've upgraded the online darts that you tried to play 6 months ago by now? How long?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this online darts. All the soft tip machines have this kind of remote play deal where you can play somebody like in another country where you can see them on the camera or something, and I was
see the
watching
dartboard on the camera.
Yeah, you can see what they hit, and you can kind of see them pull their darts and everything. And I'm just sort of like, I just remember these guys. We were playing League, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and we were going to play the final at a place that has a deal with me that doesn't really like me. And the one guy's like, well, look, if push comes to shove, you could just be here and we'll just, telephone, and we'll play by telephone. And this is like 6-7 years ago, and I just looked at him like, are you serious? and I'm like thinking after, I was driving home, I'm like, well, I guess they could send a chalker over, and we'll have a chalker over there, and I guess it's possible to do it, but why would you? Now, the next generation of that kind of thinking is this online stuff where you can play people remotely. Now, I can see an attraction on the soft tip side where, hey, you want to play like one of these big famous names, there they are. Put in your dollar.
Right. Well, one of the attractions of this,
so
supposedly it doesn't cost you anything. There's leagues, there's tournaments, and all it does is cost you your internet hookup. And
well, I mean, I didn't have time to look at the website.
And
I didn't
for those
have time.
that can't travel.
Yeah, I mean, well, here, and I did talk to somebody in Kentucky about this, and there are some good reasons to investigate something like this. Now, I have not had time to go check their website or check their new software or anything, but hopefully, maybe I can get to that before next week, because I'm curious about this. I know, like, a couple of people have really been like, for the last year, you got to try this, you got to try this, you got to try this, you got to try this. And the more people that ask me to do something like that, the less likely I am to do it. But I could see if you live somewhere where you can't get a decent game, and as an alternative to throwing on your own, you want to hook up your webcam and play somebody remotely, I could see that maybe helping.
Do you think it'd be
augment what you normally do?
You throw 3 darts and then you're standing in your room staring at your own board, and nobody's in front of you.
Well, that's kind of like, can you imagine boxing somebody remotely?
Right. Yeah. Did you hit me?
Or playing tennis remotely? I mean, why would I mean, you could play chess by mail, right? You could play chess remotely, right? But can you? And should you?
Well, I don't know, but I mean,
as far as like playing, just for fun and everything,
But on the other hand,
I don't
too,
see
if
a
you
problem
go,
with it.
If you go home to practice
like
after
this.
work every day,
right?
Now all of a sudden it's going to be more meaningful if you're actually playing against somebody.
Well, think of how much time you would save.
Right.
I mean, if it's 20 minutes for you to get out to some place to play and find somebody, and then 20 minutes to get back, that's 40 minutes. You could get 8 games of 0-1 in if you just. But, I was also saying things like, not too many people can take their living room or basement game out on the road.
Right.
You're playing under all these controlled conditions and everything where you don't have to listen to Red Solo Cup. You could put on Miles Davis. And,
whatever you want at the whatever volume you
playing
want.
Playing your pajamas or playing bare feet or, whatever. And so I kind of don't know what to make of it. So we'll get them on. Yeah, well,
find out what they
I
have
want
to
check
say
it
about
out
it.
And see if it works.
But
Because the last time I tried to do it,
supposedly works better than they've upgraded.
Okay, they've upgraded
The software and everything.
So I don't even know who's in charge of it, who's running it. I heard it was like it's like free, which I'm all for.
Yeah,
I think I worry a lot of times about, and we'll talk about this because I wanted to talk. I had a long talk with one of the ADO guys. and he was not real happy with some of the things I was saying, and I could.
There's a shock.
Well, again, it's like, I criticize things because I see ways to improve things. I don't criticize things because I've got I
an agenda.
Dislike somebody personally, and I don't like you, so here I'm going to insult what you do. I don't do that.
Right.
But when it comes to a national organization and it comes to the problems we have with this sport, I mean, somebody needs to pick up the baton and try to fix things. And if the ADO's in a position to do things and they don't do anything at all, then they're the problem.
Right.
And if they're the problem,
somebody has to say something about it.
Well, yeah, and that's part of the reason that I'm all over this, like, this North American Championship Tour. I mean, here's something coherent. Here's something cohesive. Here's like these tournaments. Here's a series of tournaments that all count, and nobody's been able to do that. The ADOs, their tournaments don't. I mean, they're all just a bunch of individual tournaments that would exist without the ADO anyway.
Right.
I mean, Virginia Beach didn't have a WDF sanctioning.
They still had a tournament?
Yeah, they still had a tournament. The walls didn't come crumbling down. No tornadoes or tsunamis hit. I mean, it was just another tournament where, okay, you don't have to worry about it. The ADO had a tournament in Vegas where they decided after the fact that some points weren't going to count and then washed their hands of it and said, well, it's not our fault. It's like the BDO. It's like, we don't need you for that.
Right.
Honestly. If you're going to go put on tournaments that all you do, you less than 50% payout, put that on the flyer. Put down 40% payout for men's singles and see how many people show up.
Yeah.
Because believe me, I'm not going to let them forget that one.
Right.
But we'll deal with the ADO next week. But I want to.
We'll continue with that.
We will make every effort to investigate webcam darts in the next week, and we will come back with some sort of a report. I mean, I don't know that we'll make a recommendation, but some of the people involved have volunteered to come on the show and talk about it, and I see no problem with that. I just don't really know what to make of it.
Well, we need more information.
Well, yeah. I mean, I kind of want to see how things work. It looks to me like it's pretty cool.
Supposedly, it's supposed to be a way better experience than your first try at it.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's fine. I mean, it's hard for me as a player to wrap my head around the idea of playing online and as far as, like, what will I get out of it versus what I put into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, okay, I like to practice when I'm practicing, which ain't been lately, but and then once I'm practicing, it would be nice to get some games in.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really matter who I play. It matters just to get in kind of game
focused
mode,
on
stuff like that.
What you need to throw at.
And, if you're going to have all these great players, which is kind of what they're talking about, playing online, okay, well, fine.
Might be worth it.
But it's still a little, I don't know. There's something about it that strikes me as being a little bit hokey. And maybe that's just me.
Could be.
Right? I watched the guy.
Know.
Well, I watched the guy playing it on a soft tip machine, and just the look on his face. He's pulling his darts, and he's just standing there waiting for the machine to recycle. And I'm like, no, no. This is not good.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying?
No, I do know what you're saying.
And it's going to be a poor substitute for actually playing in person, and I don't think they're talking about online leagues, and they're talking about ladders and tournaments and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know about that. But we'll see. I mean, maybe I'll, I have an open mind. I just sort of am like, gee, I don't know what to make of this. So we'll do that next week.
Could be a dart league for, what is it, agoraphobia? You could have a whole bunch of people that can't leave the house.
Is it agoraphobia? Is a fear of open spaces? That's xenophobia.
Xenophobia?
That's fear of strangers.
Okay.
Or a fear of the unfamiliar. I am not xenophobic.
No. But that's what online darts could be good for. People that can't leave their house can actually be in a dart league.
No. I mean, it's like like I was talking to one guy who lives in Louisville and doesn't have a lot of competition. I'm like, look, man, I mean, if you just went down to your dartboard in the basement or wherever it is and just got in 15 minutes a day, but you did it every day.
Right.
Got your 15 minutes in every day no matter what. I'm like, I guarantee you in 6 weeks you're a better player. Mm-hmm. You're better at 10, 15%. Just making that commitment to play every day. It doesn't have to be 5 hours.
Right.
But literally 10 minutes in front of your board every single day.
Well, and then
then
you add this, and then you can actually have, say you have 20 minutes,
get some games
20 minutes of games every day. going to help too. So.
And if they're keeping,
even if it is a little hokey,
well, if they're keeping stats or whatever, which they ought to be able to do. I mean, it gives you some measurables. It gives you something quantified.
Right.
I mean, that can maybe help if you look at it in the right way. I think people that are playing for their average are kind of missing the boat.
Yeah,
a little bit. You know what I mean?
I agree.
So we'll deal with webcam darts next week, and we'll talk a little bit more about the ADO next week. We were going to do the Premier League. It's getting down to the nitty gritty. Do you want to do some picks real quick for next week, and then we'll get out of here?
Sure.
All right. First match is Taylor and Adrian Lewis.
Well, I'll always pick Taylor.
Okay. Whitlock and Van Gerwen.
How's Van Gerwen playing these days?
He's still smoking everybody.
Yeah. I'll go with Van Gerwen.
Okay. Robert Thornton and Andy Hamilton.
Well, he better be. He's a 4-9 favorite.
Yeah. Robert Thornton and Andy Hamilton. They are like neck and neck.
Yeah.
So this is kind of do or die for those guys. Let's take Thornton.
Thornton?
Okay.
Okay.
Barneveld and Wade?
I'd go Barneveld. That's a tough one, though.
I go draw.
Draw?
I go draw.
Pick draw.
I mean, Barneveld blew it. He had Taylor and ended up with a draw.
Oh, okay.
Last week, I think. And then Taylor's playing Whitlock. I say he smokes him. I say Taylor beats Whitlock and beats him easily. And it's kind of weird because some guys are playing two matches.
Right.
And then Adrian Lewis is playing Robert Thornton. Yeah, Adrian Lewis is just kind of falling off.
Yeah,
the
I
map
would pick
here.
Thornton in there.
Yeah, you want to go. So you're going to take Thornton twice, take Taylor twice.
Van
I like
Barneveld.
the draw. I like the draw with Van Barneveld and
with
Wade.
the draw. All right.
What do we know?
And Van Gerwen.
That's the beauty about being in the chattering class. You could just make predictions.
Right.
And then, missed it.
Sorry.
Here's our next one.
I'm a weatherman.
We have no accountability. It's awesome.
It's going to rain. Oh, sorry, it didn't.
All right. Anyway, thanks everybody for listening. We do appreciate it, and please visit our sponsors. If you like the show, support our sponsors because they support us, and we need them.
Absolutely.
So thanks to the DartZone.com.
No travels. Stay in the zone. No
the
travels. The
DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. No, I got a couple of weeks off now.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna. That's why I have time to look at this webcam
Right.
stuff and do some cleaning, spring cleaning, if spring ever comes.
All right.
That'd be good. We'll be back next Wednesday.
Yes.
7:30. Hopefully glitch free and with a report
It'll be the
from
first day of May, won't it?
Will it? I don't know.
Today's the 24th.
Whatever.
I think so.
I'm not looking at a calendar.
It's May Day.
But we'll have Chat Room Girl back next week. She'll give us a report on
unless she stays in Vegas.
No, she's got a job. I think she's going to have to come back unless she wins a lot of money, in which case she can sponsor the show.
Exactly. There you go.
So thanks everybody for listening. We will Dart Talk to you next week.